Good. Everybody doing well? Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. I'm going to be very brief on my background. Quick. I started in this business about 30 years ago. I joined a small company. I think some of you might remember the name, Sealand Service, back in 1984 in Montreal, Canada. And I joined that company because I really wanted to experience I wanted a global experience, and I wanted to have an opportunity to live overseas. And sure enough, through my career, I was able to sort of live out that portion of my dream. I spent 6 years living in Hong Kong through the transition to China. It was a really exciting experience for me. I left Sealand and Horizon Lines again in 2012, and I'm really fortunate to be here and in this role. I'm going to take you back to 1998. In 1998, I was asked to run the Puerto Rican service for Sealand. And Jacksonville, as you know, is the key jump-off place for Puerto Rican cargo. And as I was in that role, I said, wow, Jacksonville is a really neat town. And as I got a little bit more into that job, I said, wow, Jaxport is a really cool business, and it would be really interesting to, at some point in my career, work for Jaxport. And so here I am, in the job, in this city, at probably the most exciting time for us. Not just Jaxport, but for us here in Northeast Florida. There's a lot changing in the global transportation industry, and there's a lot changing for us. So I'm going to take you through a very short presentation, a little bit about our strategic plan. Obviously, when I arrived here 7.5 months ago, we were already deeply into a strategic planning process, and I wanted to make sure that I had some input into that strategic plan. We came out with something that we can really focus on for the next 20 years. And so I'm going to share a condensed version of that strategic plan because it's awfully difficult to get all of it into 20 minutes. Oh, there we go. All right, well, let me talk to you about the 4 goals that came out of our strategic planning process. Delivering annual profitable business growth in the next 3 to 5 years, critically important to us because we're not going to get deep water in this port for the next 4 or 5 years. And we need to make sure that this business is growing and that we have an opportunity to reinvest our capital dollars back into the growth of Jaxport and what we do to support you here in Northeast Florida. We need to preserve the diversity of our business and expand it. I heard Bill talk about diversity, and I will touch on the diverse amount of business that we have at Jaxport and how that has helped us actually make our way through some very difficult economic times while we still grew and many other ports did not. The compatibility of our plans, both in the short term and the long term, operationally, financially compatible. We don't want to spend dollars today on investments that we're going to have to change 5 years from now when we get deep water in this port. And last but not least is delivering a 40-foot channel here in Jacksonville. It is about maintaining the relevance of the business we've already attracted here and ensuring that we here in this region have an opportunity to participate in a segment that presents the largest growth opportunity for the future. What I'm going to do is step you through just a couple of the strategies around each of these goals. I'm not going to have time to get through every one of them, but I'll touch on the one. Sorry, wrong button. I'm going to talk to you first about goal number 4, and that's the focus on maintaining our current lines of business, expanding into new markets that are compatible with our long-term growth, and doing that in a way that benefits all the counties that we support. Not just Duval County, but all the counties that we support. Jaxport is positioned exceptionally well from a geographic perspective. We are the westernmost port on the East Coast. We've got great highway access. In fact, the junction of 3 major highways. We have 3 major railroads that serve our business here in Jacksonville. And we have access through these gateways to reach 60 million consumers within 1 day's truck drive from the port of Jacksonville. That gives us a tremendous opportunity to get freight from here to places where it will be consumed elsewhere. It's this prime location, it's that access to the large population base here that makes Northeast Florida an ideal place for people to invest their capital. The placement of import distribution centers and manufacturing sites like the VACCON Center here is done because it's in close proximity to the deepwater port, and there are a lot of carriers that serve that port. It's our job through this strategic plan to ensure that we are aggressively marketing the favorable economics that we have here that has attracted companies like VACCON, Highliner, AV Logistics, and so many others that are involved in importing and exporting. Some of you may not know that distribution center rental rates here in Northeast Florida are nearly identical, if not lower, than our competitive ports to the north, and in many cases 40% lower than other counties, cities here in Florida. We have a foreign trade zone here. Foreign trade zone number 64 provides our customers with an ability to bring imports in, defer taxes, lower costs, and if those of you here in this county are not looking at the foreign trade zone as an opportunity for you, I do urge you to take the opportunity to investigate what is there to help your business continue to grow. Distribution and manufacturing growth, I mentioned before, is tied to ocean carriers. Global reach for both the import and export market is critical, and you've got it right here in Clay County with the access that you have to what is available in Jacksonville at Jaxport. I think we've done a good job in recent years attracting carriers to this location. 5 years ago, we had one international global carrier that served from Asia. Today, 16 of 18 carriers that serve the east-west trade now call in Jacksonville. This global container segment is forecasted to grow between 3 and 6% over the course of the next 10 years. It is the largest, fastest growing segment. We need to focus on the Asia trade lane, which we have done very well. In the last 4 years, the Asia business has grown here in this port to become 26% of the containers that we handle. It's that focus on Latin America that we have to have. It's the opportunity to attract niche carrier services here that can be combined with the global carriers that already exist here. I am sure you have all heard about liquefied natural gas. In the very short time that I have been here, this has quickly amplified to become one of the most significant topics that we have, not just for Jaxport, but for Northeast Florida. It's about establishing us in this region as a leader in the development and implementation of this technology in the marine sector. First, it's about protecting business that we already have here. 2 of the carriers that serve Puerto Rico in Jacksonville have invested roughly $300 million each, 2 ships each, fueled by liquefied natural gas. We want to protect that business. We want to keep them here. We've got to provide them with a vehicle to fuel those ships. And as they become the anchor tenants of a liquefaction plant that can be established here in Jacksonville, we have the opportunity now in this region to become a net exporter of liquefied natural gas to places around the globe. Starting in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, where they're looking for more efficient ways to power their plants and their economies, this potentially becomes an opportunity for us to grow and for them to achieve better economics. Bill talked about diversity. This is our book of business. When I first took this job, I knew one part of this business. It was the container segment, and it was one specific terminal that used to handle my business when I was in the marine sector. But we have a vibrant business at this port that covers a multitude of different commodities. And it's that diversity in business that really did help us overcome some very difficult economic times. It's cars, it's containers, it's break bulk, it's the cruise business, it's the bulk shipments that we handle. All of that is important for us and for all of you. I'm going to talk just for a minute about Latin America. I mentioned it earlier. Historically, the Latin American market has grown at about 3.7% in the near term is expected to recover to more than 4%. It is a big and growing part of what we do. 60% of the business in Jacksonville is actually tied to Latin America if you include Puerto Rico. So it's a very important sector for us. I'm going to talk about one particular commodity that I think you'd like to know about, wood pulp. We are gradually getting out of the wood pulp production industry in this nation. And as we do, that wood pulp is being supplied by international producers, and 6 of the 12 largest international producers are in South America. 3 of those 6 are adding 8% of the global capacity in wood pulp production to their plants, and they all ship here to Jaxport. So we have an opportunity to continue to grow in this segment, and that is clearly one of the focus items for us as we think about this plan around Latin America. Another key segment for us is project and specialty cargo. It took us 18 months to rebuild the special project berth that we have at Long Island. $12.5 million. It was just completed last fall. We actually lost some of our market share in this segment because we had no place to handle pieces of equipment like the one that you see here that just moved out of this port on Monday. 238 metric tons is what this particular shipment weighed. That is an export of a locally manufactured product moving through our port to a global destination, and companies here, just like all of you, have the opportunity to use the assets of this port to grow your business internationally. It's about making sure that our plans are compatible. I mentioned it before. The capital dollars that we spend today have got to be consistent with what we expect to do 5 or 6 years from now. So as we look at our key facilities, the facility at Talleyrand, the decision for us is made. We are not going to deepen our channel down to Talleyrand. It's an extra 7 miles that we can cut off the deepening project. We focus this terminal on shallow draft vessels, on automobiles, and it allows us to economically use this asset efficiently and allow us to focus the dollars on deep water down at the Long Island and Dean's Point Marine Terminal. This is our Long Island terminal. We are continuing to redevelop the berths, the docks here. These docks are old. They're over 50 years old. They need to be replaced. We've replaced 2 of them. We will methodically replace the last 3 of those docks over the course of the next 4 years, and all of the dock replacement will be done by 2019 as we approach the time that our channel will be deepened. So this is our goal number 1. I think we knew this before we did the strategic planning process. We knew it intuitively, but as we completed this process, it was clear to us that we have absolutely got to ensure that our channel is deepened to 47 feet. Big ships are already here, folks. You see this ship right here? That was in here in February. That's a 6,700 TEU vessel, 20-foot equivalent unit. The ships that will begin calling here on a regular basis will be 8,500 TEUs and greater. In order for us to take this ship in, she had to be lightly loaded by 15% to basically accommodate our channel. And when she leaves, we can't load all the export freight on this vessel because she will grab too deep and she won't be able to stay. If we don't get 47 feet in this port, ships like this will eventually go elsewhere. And we'll lose the opportunity that we have before us to keep what we have and grow what is there for us to grow. So let me tell you about the project. It is about job creation. The focus on increasing the volume of business here for us from 930,000 TEUs is what we handle today. And we are the largest container handling port in the state of Florida. But there is an opportunity for us to attract 1.9 million incremental TEUs if we have bigger ships and if we give ourselves the opportunity to be a first import port of call and a last export port of exit. The jobs are around 14,000 direct, indirect, and induced jobs. It's about a return on investment. And this return on investment that you see here is actually using the state FDOT formula to calculate project cost versus growth in GDP for the state. So for every dollar that we would invest in this project, we'd return back to the state $14.80. Now, I'm sure many of you invest in the stock market. If you were able to get a $14.8 or $14.80 return on every dollar you invest, you do it every day. Now, here's the risk. There's risk when you invest. There's risk when we do a project like this. It's about balance. Calculate the risk, calculate the return, make an informed decision. And that's what we intend to do here at Jaxport, along with this community. A couple things we need to do to support our move towards deep water is to eliminate the mile point navigational restrictions we have on the St. Johns River. Short and quick, we can only use the channel for large ships 8 hours a day on high tide because of a navigational challenge that exists here at this confluence of the St. Johns River and the Intercoastal Waterway. Money's been pledged to fix it by Governor Scott, $38 million. It is included in the current Water Resource Development Act bill that is in conference right now in D.C., and as soon as that bill is passed, we'll move to get this fixed. It'll be completed by the end of 2015. Next project is what's called an ICTF, an intermodal container transfer facility. Ship comes in, you need access to a rail facility immediately adjacent to your marine terminal, so you can take a box off the ship, you can put it on a train, and it moves quickly to a destination beyond Northeast Florida. The creation of the ICTF is underway. We've awarded that contract to a local Jacksonville business, Dana B. Kenyon. This project will be completed also by the end of 2015. The next strategic component beyond the ICTF is an efficient rail corridor to move cargo from that ICTF to the mainline connection, allowing us to hit markets in Chicago, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. Today, everything that leaves Dames Point and Glen Island actually comes down south, through the city, and then back up the west side. Not the fastest and most efficient way for us to move cargo. What is being proposed and studied by the North Florida TPO, Transportation Planning Organization, is the North Jax Rail Corridor. Move across the top of the city, through some JAA property, and connect to the CSX main line and cut almost a day out of the sequence of moving freight from Jaxport to the main line. Understudy is moving forward to develop the actual specific routing, and we are fully behind this project and look forward to the successful execution of this project. So look, the strategies that I've sort of outlined here allow us to do a couple things. Fully utilize all the assets of the port. Spread our focus across multiple lines of business. Utilize a lot of different labor groups with different skills and different amount of labor that is required. And it provides us the opportunity to give our customers a multitude of choices in how they would move their freight. And so really all comes back down to the vision of the port. Northeast Florida as a principal hub of U.S. logistics, trade, and transportation network. This is the fastest growing region in this country. Everyone here in this room has a chance to benefit from what we're trying to accomplish. We need to make sure that we grow. I don't know how many of you are football fans. I'm a football fan. Even though I grew up in Canada and I played hockey, I'm still a football fan. But Lou Holtz once said, if you're not growing, you're dying. So get out there, start moving, and start growing. And that is exactly what we have done, what you're doing, and what we need to continue to do. And why do we need to do it? We need to do it because that's what our charter says we have to do. Jaxport's charter is about creating jobs and economic opportunity for everybody in Northeast Florida, not Duval County, Northeast Florida. We'll create those jobs and opportunity by offering the most competitive environment for the movement of freight and people. And the implementation of this plan is essential for us to make sure that we deliver on our charge. So I guess as I conclude my comments here, I'm enlisting your support. I need you to be advocates for the things that we are trying to accomplish in port. And that together, we can ensure that this region has the opportunity to grow and to compete with the ports and regions to the north. So with that, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. And if we have time, that's up to you. I would be happy to take any questions that anybody may have, and I'll try and answer you.
We do have time, though.
Brian Jaxport, and what people I have two questions. One is, can you put the slide back up that shows the 8-hour travel and kind of explain to people what's happening in the Panama Canal and how that impacts getting the bigger ships over here and not letting them dock in California and get some dock here so they can truck?
Yeah, it'll take a long time for me to cycle through those slides, but essentially what we want to accomplish here is we need that ship, when it comes through the Panama Canal, to come to this port first. That is a first port of call. And in order to have a first port of call, you have to have a channel that is deep enough to accept a fully loaded ship. So as these 8,500 TEU ships come, and they will come, some of them are already here, they come here through the Suez Canal, but they come lightly loaded. When the Panama Canal opens, virtually all the ships that come from Asia to the U.S. East Coast will be 8,500 TEU or greater. If we want them to come here first, we need to be able to accommodate them fully loaded. If you get a fully loaded ship in here first port of call, you take the boxes off for local consumption, you take the boxes off, you put them on a train, and they move quickly to an inland destination. An inland destination like Chicago, an inland destination like Memphis or Nashville. Take Atlanta, for example. 500,000 TEUs a year move through the port of Savannah to Atlanta because they have the most efficient connection by rail to move that freight into Atlanta. We have a first port of call here with an ICTF and the North Jax Rail Corridor connection that I just mentioned earlier. We have an opportunity to get freight to Atlanta faster than taking the ship to Savannah. That's what we are trying to accomplish, and that's what these initiatives and strategies are all about.
I have a second follow-up, if I can. Can you explain where the money's coming from for the dredging? Because there's federal dollars, and then there's a local component that's pretty big, and I think that's what people in this room can help you with, is talking to the Jaxport City Council, the Jaxport Mayor, the Chamber about that amount of money, because there's a lot of local money that is going for side things.
Yes, sir. We just had our final review with the Corps of Engineers on the 25th of February. That's a review by their Civil Works Review Board, and essentially it's the culmination of the project. And what the Corps studies is the project environmentally supported? Is it financially feasible? And is it operationally feasible? When we met with the Civil Works Review Board, they said this project meets the criteria on all three of those categories, and so they move it to the next stage, which is the finalization of a chief's report. And we would expect right now that our chief's report for this project will come out around the end of April. And I can tell you, 7 months ago, when I first got in this job, we never, ever thought we would get our chief's report done by the end of April. There's been a lot of support around the business community, the legislative community, and obviously from all of us at Jaxport to get us to a point where we can get this done in April. The price tag that was presented to the Civil Works Review Board was $684 million to keep in our channel 13 miles from the mouth of the St. Johns River to the Dames Point Marine Terminal. Typically, civil works projects like this have a 65% federal component and a 35% non-federal share of funding. Ours is a little bit different, and I won't go into all the details, but we have to fund the difference between 45 feet and 47 feet 100%. So our non-federal share is actually $371 million. Now what typically happens in projects like this is the state and the local region would split that non-federal share. We have spoken to Secretary Prasad, Governor Scott. I think there is a clear level of support from them to ensure that they would be at the table with 50% of that local share. The balance is what we need to figure out how to finance. And it could be done through a variety of different public-private partnerships. We could look at a concession type arrangement with a marine terminal operator that might take one of our assets, develop it, and in return for a very long-term favorable lease, they would make an upfront cash payment called a concession payment. So we look at all those different avenues as ways for us to finance the component that we would need to come up with here locally. And look, you got to have a local share in projects like this. If you want the federal government to put up money, and if you want the state to put up money, there is an expectation that we have to find a way to put some of our own skin in the game. So does that answer the question?
Sir, I just want to make sure people knew the number and what the difference between two.
Yes, and everything that I'm talking about right here relative to this project, including the full report from the Corps of Engineers, is now up on their website. It was put up there last Friday, so you could actually go and look at all the numbers that I just talked about. Way in the back, I think you had your hand up first.
Brian, thanks for the great talk. My name's Bill Goss. I'm a retired Navy pilot, and my son is active duty Navy pilot. And the first couple miles of the dredging, isn't that a national security issue? Because right now, if Norfolk is taken out with a suitcase 30 weapon, there is no place for the aircraft carriers at sea to return to. Doesn't that have to be made for it? And what aspect of the dredging is in line with what you're talking about to get a nuclear aircraft carrier into Mayport so that they have a place to return to?
Great question, and I'll answer it maybe in two parts. The president came here last July. You all remember that? He came a week before I got here. But he came, and he came because this port is viewed as strategically significant to the U.S. Department of Defense. We are one of only 16 ports in this country that are designated strategically important by the DoD. We're the only one in Florida. So you are correct. This port is incredibly important to the U.S. military. We've got a multitude of military installations here. I think we have the fuel supply here in Jacksonville for all the Southeast military installations. I mean, that makes us critically important to the military, and that's why the president said this is one of 5 dredging projects that is nationally significant to this nation, and it needs to be on the We Can't Wait issue. The channel actually goes out beyond the mouth of the river. It goes out to what's called the sea buoy, and that's where pilots typically meet the ship and they bring them into the harbor. The Navy has already spent the money to deepen that portion of our channel, from the sea buoy all the way to mile 0 and into the mile point, or the Mayport Naval Station basin, has been deepened to 50 feet. So there's already been an investment made here in our maritime asset. And now the government is saying the next phase is to help you get the next 13 miles down. I think you just read that we got some money from the federal government. Not a lot, but it is the money for the next phase in the project. So once the chief's report is issued in April, the next phase is your pre-construction engineering and design phase. 18 months, roughly $7 million price tag. And we were just given some money in the 2014 work plan by the Corps, just over $2 million, and we're given $3.5 million in the 2015 budget. Again, that signals to me that somebody in Washington sees this project as being critically important to the nation and to us here in Northeast Florida. Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. In an effort to keep us on military time, Jerry's particular about getting us out of here at 1 o'clock. I just want to make a couple of quick, brief comments. First of all, a friend of ours from Jaxport, say Broderick Green, is over. Broderick, if you raise your hand. Jax USA is a critical partner. We are a region. Clay County cannot do it alone, and we're lucky to be a part of Jax USA, and they constantly have a representative at these luncheons. Generally, Kathy Chambers is here. Kathy actually lives in Fleming Island. I also want to I neglected to mention early on, I don't know if they're still here, but the CTE group back in the back, the CTE group, Career Technical Education from Clay County School Board, has some students here today and some instructors. And this is another example of us trying to partner with the school board to help better prepare the workforce and let them stay here in Clay County, hopefully. Also, I want to thank St. John's River State College. Karen Balkanoff is here today. Dr. Anna Leibich is here. I'm proud to be a student here at this school, taking 3 classes this semester. Every class is taught by somebody with a doctorate, and it's a very high-quality education. And Mr. Taylor is going to speak to the business club afterwards. So great venue, great institution, great Clay County institution. Lucky to have it. And I, of course, want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for being here. They are a major supporter of our efforts, and we wouldn't be able to do it without them, frankly. Jerry, would you like to join us?
I'd like to recognize just a couple of people that I missed at the beginning. We've got the chairman of the Clay County Chamber of Commerce, Pam Gibson. Your house didn't burn down last night. We had Chief Mock here. So that wraps it up, and look at that, right on time. We have our next meeting is June 11th. The speaker will be Andre Wong from the CEO for Downtown Investment Commission. It's going to be very, have a great day.